Oh, hello. My name's Danny, and I'm calling from a company called Spiritual Entertainment, and I'm actually a taxpayer, but I'm also calling as part of one of the initiatives we do, which is to ask the questions that I guess nobody's asking, so is it Patrick I'm talking to? Yeah, Patrick. I just really want to make it very clear that I'm going to be asking you what might seem a very strange question to you because it's kind of running against the tide of society. This is what we do, and please don't take this personally. It's not a personal attack or anything.
Are you a journalist?
No, I'm not. I'm not. Well, I'm actually a member of the public, but I'm also sort of. I do work as an independent journalist to try and understand and question some of the behaviours that corporations, including government corporations, are engaging in. And and my particular question is on the current advertising campaign that HMRC have got at the moment, and in which they seem to be exposing something which seems to me to be very, very questionable, which is there is a claim by certain people that taxation itself is extortion, and this seems to have been proven by the latest campaign, in which they say you've got these pictures saying we're coming after you for undeclared income. If you declare all your income, you have nothing to fear, which means obviously if you don't declare your income, then you do have something to fear, which falls right bang into the definition of extortion, the dictionary definition, which is the act of securing money, stroke favours by intimidation or violence or blackmail. And this seems to be...
That's not quite true though, is it? Because at the end of the day, Parliament is voted in by you and I as voters. Parliament decides on the level of taxation. If there are the great majority of the great British public are honest, law-abiding taxpayers who pay their way, well into the 90s do so. We're dealing with a small group of people who are not making their fair contribution to UK PLC, but still drawing public services. So the money HMRC collects, the government decides how to spend it. It goes for hospitals, it goes for the guys in Afghanistan. So I don't understand how anyone could see that as anything other than a properly functioning model democracy, to be honest with you. But it sounds like a political question you should be addressing to your MP rather than me, because I'm only a civil servant.
No. I don't think it's something I need to address to the MP, because it's the HMRC that have been putting out these adverts. And whilst I'm
more
not...
to come. And you did a day. They're quite effective at prompting the small number of people who are not making their fair contribution to UK PLC like the rest of us. And they're going to have to pay up, I'm afraid. That's what the message of the campaign
No,
is.
but I understand that's what the message is, and I can't say you're surprising me, Patrick, with your response. It's nothing less than I expected. Although there's lots of things in what you said. You speak very fast, and there are a lot of points in what you said that are open to challenge. And I don't want to spend too much time on the phone call and too much of your time. And having said that, there's a few things that I'd just like to very briefly pick up on. Firstly, firstly, I find it interesting that you say that the money goes to paying, that me and you voted them in. I certainly did not vote them in.
No, what I mean,
right?
I'm not referring to a political affiliation.
No, I don't vote at all. I don't vote at all. I'm not going to be part of this extortion, which is why I don't vote. So that's number one. Number two...
That's your personal
That
prerogative.
is my personal prerogative indeed.
Yeah.
But number two, it's interesting that you brought up that this pays for the people in Afghanistan, because I certainly don't want to be spending my hard-earned money paying for people blow up people in another part of the world that, frankly, it's none of my business. It's nothing to do with me. I don't know them. And
that's why then obviously the recourse available to you is to vote for whatever political party reflects your point of view, and there are political parties who have strong opinions. So I still don't understand the purpose of your argument.
I'll tell you the purpose of my argument, but you brought that up about Afghanistan yourself, which is quite interesting you brought that up. But the purpose of my argument actually is more, let's go back to what I originally said. One can argue about, one can argue about taxation and where the taxes go to. That's a very big, long discussion in itself. We don't even know where our money goes to, right?
It's still published in the government's annual accounts. It's published in the actual the budget material. I can send you over a link to it. Every single penny is itemised as regards where it goes.
Yeah, but we don't know exactly where the taxation goes to, and some of it some of it goes to paying back debts that the government have borrowed, right? And who that money ends up in the hands of is another question. But leaving that aside for a moment, let's go back. Let's go.
Exactly how much. I mean, this is.
No, but hold on a second, Patrick. I don't want to spend much time on that because what the most important thing is I'm speaking to you and not to the government. I'm speaking to you as a representative of HMRC. And what I wanted to hold on a second, Patrick. What I wanted to get to most importantly is that I don't agree with the taxation system, but that's fair enough. I can see your point, and we can talk about that another time if you're interested. But right now, it's the method of getting that tax from people. And what I'm saying is that those adverts are extortionate. They are. It's the act of securing money by intimidation. That's what those adverts are doing. They're intimidating people. So in other words, you could argue that it's unfair that you claim 90% of people pay their full tax. Well, that may well be or may not. Maybe because they don't have a choice, right? Maybe right. Maybe they don't have a choice. I don't know whether that figure is accurate. It might be true, right? And that there are these 10% of people that are not pulling their weight, right? And then you could argue similarly, if you want to take it to an extreme, that you could go round to their houses with machine guns, put guns to their head and say, you pay up or we're going to blow your head off, right? Now, we don't do that because that's not justified. That behaviour, that way of getting money for people is not justified, especially not for taxation purposes, right? And I'm saying that this advertising campaign is proof that actually the taxation system is extortion, and this campaign is just confirming that because what you're doing is intimidating people. Are you not?
I can see the power of your argument, but obviously. We obviously disagree with that. If you want to send me an email setting out your objection to the actual advertising campaign, I'll gladly pass it on for the people who devised the campaign, and we'll come back to you with a substantive response. I'm not disputing the sincerity of your argument and your particular point of view.
Is it? Well, you know what, Patrick? Let's keep it very simple. Is it or is it not intimidation?
No, it's not.
It's not. So you're saying you're saying we're out to get you. We've got people with their eyes sort of looking through as if they're out to get you. Yeah, it's actually the words. We're coming after you. Those are the words. And at the bottom it says, if you declare you have nothing to fear, which means you do have something to fear. If that is not, you're telling me, seriously, Patrick, you're telling me that is not intimidation.
No, it's not.
Wow. What is it then?
But because basically HMRC is bound by a whole set of legal obligations, even towards people who are tax evaders. There's quite prescriptive set of rules about how we go about recovering evaded tax, and those rules are kind of sacrosanct. So even if someone who's a tax cheat, there's a whole set of checks and balances in the system to protect them from an overrule the HMRC in terms of how we go about recovering the money.
Right. Well. How do you go about recovering the money? Do you? What happens if someone doesn't pay? Do the bailiffs get sent round?
HMRC would use obviously if someone could not pay and they were particularly difficult, they were going through a particularly difficult financial time.
Yeah.
And we would look on a case by case basis, stagger the payments in the system through that particular time.
Yeah. Let's say they didn't, or couldn't, or wouldn't come up with that. Would you send the bailiffs round? You don't use recovery companies?
Well, we actually, HMRC has a long-standing legal right, going back hundreds of years, to actually enforce collection of tax debts via restraint. I can send you a link to that.
Right, so you do use recovery companies?
No, HMRC civil servants go around in certain cases. It's only a very small number of cases to actually recover monies by what's called restraint. I can send you details of that if you wish.
Right, okay. And if they're not able to recover any of that money, what would happen? They go to court?
Yes.
Right? And if they didn't pay then, they could go to prison, right?
No.
You can't go to prison for not paying your taxes?
Victorian times, and then you've been sent to prison. You only get sent to prison for criminal offences. There's
right.
No question if someone will be sent to prison over a civil debt. It's a civil debt. What would happen? It depends on the individual case.
So it's a civil debt, it's not a crime then?
Well, tax evasion is a crime.
Oh, tax evasion is a crime?
Yes.
So you could go to jail for that?
If you it wouldn't be HMRC putting you in prison, then you have to be convicted by a court of law.
Right, but it ends up in the court of law. I mean,
That's an exaggeration. HMRC literally actual criminal investigation and prosecution is reserved for the most serious of cases.
Right.
We're talking about 100 prosecutions a year.
Right.
30 million taxpayers in the UK, so
Right.
100 people get prosecuted every year for tax evasion.
Right.
Tax evasion cases are dealt with what's called through the civil settlement, which means the tax chief pays back all the tax they cheat the rest of us out of.
Right.
They will pay a penalty on top, depending on their level of behaviour. So the
Right.
behaviour is on a continuum. There'll be some people, for example, I don't know if you use it, maybe someone, if you use it, like say my mom is quite old, let's say she's forgotten to declare a small amount of income, her level of financial knowledge would not be on a par with someone who's an accountant or
Right.
a lawyer. So that in that particular circumstance, she forgot to declare a couple £100 she had in a bank account in the Channel Islands, let's say, for example.
Yeah.
Then the HMRC would say, well, her level of financial knowledge is not poor. There's no attempt on her part to evade the tax. It was just a lack of knowledge on her part.
Right.
The amount of tax involved is quite small, so she'd pay back the tax. She probably wouldn't even pay a penalty. Someone at the other end of the spectrum, let's say, who has a degree of organisation and malice in what they were doing, they purposely filled in incorrect tax returns. They failed to declare a couple of £1 million in the bank van target card. And then that would be completely different. That person would be other end of the spectrum, and they could be charged up to 100% of the tax
Right.
that they've evaded. So
Uh-huh.
each case has to be treated on the particular facts.
Right.
Attributes
Right.
of the case.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Patrick. I appreciate your responses.
I mean,
Just
one
one.
I can send you an email, and you can, if you feel that strongly about it, you can just send me an email, and I'll pass it on to relevant people who designed the campaign.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, basically, you know, what I do is I just put these messages out to the public so that they expose it and
you should complain and literally.
but complaining, I don't think complaining is helpful. I think exposure is more helpful, to expose what is going on, you know, and I didn't expect you to agree with my viewpoint.
I should respect your viewpoint, and people can have different opposite viewpoints and still respect each other's opinions.
Yeah.